The research began by addressing fundamental questions in relation to people's response to space and installation-based work. In order to consider these questions, I was fortunate enough to utilise Capture 3, a touring exhibition that was based at the New Art Gallery, Warsaw, an exhibition of single screen-based works, screen-based installation, and new media works, with content that emanated out of dance practice. Here I was able to observe and question how people negotiate the space determined by installation-based work and the work themselves. In addition to the gallery-based research, studio-based work was a significant part of the project. I invited 2 dancers, almost as research associates, to work with me in the studio.
Look, and you go off. Jenny, you come in. And that's it. Yeah. No, so your position now, yeah, and then we segue into then you'd be lying on the floor, yeah, and then you turn out of it and then come into it, yeah.
I spent a long time considering what would go on in the studio, and whilst the outcome of the project was not to realise a work, pretty quickly I realised that my thinking lent towards developing a concept for a piece which would give a very strong rationale for the studio-based research.
That makes Christa disappear so that you're left, or makes you disappear so that Christa's left, but Christa's got to be left standing up, whereas you can be left on the floor.
Of course, the concept that I took into the studio to work on with the dancers did not come into my mind in a flash at the beginning of the process. If anything, it took quite a while to arrive at that beginning, and at a point I was concerned that actually nothing seemed to be happening. It's not as if one can really pinpoint when the idea emerged, but it doesn't come out of a void. Observing people, visiting installation-based exhibitions, reading a considerable number of books, articles and reviews, coupled with an ongoing evaluation of your past work, all contributed to the choices I made, and it was no different in this case. At the start I was thinking in terms of either moving or still image-based work, and it was with still images of moving dancers where I began the groundwork. I was interested not in capturing still focused, isolated movements of dancers, but more to see the movement that's there, the movement that the eye doesn't see, not movement that is captured still, frame by frame, as in the work of Muybridge, but leaving the shutter open to record as a single frame image the movement that inhabits the space framed by the lens. It was definitely not about slow motion, it was about real time, not about 10 seconds becoming 1 minute, but about 1 minute becoming a frozen moment. As I read through my research book, I note a paragraph that appears to have no connection to the previous jottings. Need to identify a couple of places or spaces within the gallery, one that is very defined, in brackets stairwell, and one that is very open and needs darkness, brackets window area, and look at analysing these spaces in relation to creating work for them. What is the movement content? Is this driven by the space, or what happens around that space, i.e. the stairwell, people going up and down, looking over, etc.? Both of these spaces were non-gallery spaces, and I continued to work through ideas until one idea became more dominant, and the concept to take into the studio was there. It was the stair and lift area of the mezzanine floor that became the focus for the work. My notebook states that what really struck me was the stairs and the choice of the understairs on which a concept piece could be projected. The way there are long stairs joining different floors that seemed almost hidden, but are significant features. The long stairway joins floor 1 to floor 3 and is really an encased stairway, and yet whilst moving up or down this stairway you come across a window onto the Garman-Rhine collection, and through that window you can see another stairway that is also half encased that joins the up and the downstairs of the Garman-Rhine house. It became the connection of the staircases with direction, the idea of journeying and who you might encounter, the architecture of this particular stairwell, the way stairways are integrated into the gallery, the movement based around moving upwards, downwards, and the juxtaposition of the lifts opening and closing next to the stairway, that all fed into and became the concept. The generation of the movement vocabulary became about making material that was directional and that inhabited the frame, and we simplified it down to creating movement sequences that either move continually upwards or continuously move sideways.